Alright, let's do this. Finally, something worthy of being called a game. And it's a Bleach game of all things. Bleach games on Roblox haven't exactly been the greatest, reputation-wise or game-wise. But, I think out of all the ones I've played, this one stands out at least as a game. But not without some insane flaws that prevent me from calling this a good game. Or even an above average game. But I can't be biased even if this one holds a special place in my hating heart. So, let's get to work. Welcome to Peroxide. For those of you who don't know this game, which is fair, since... Yeah, this game hasn't been majorly updated in a while. Which is sad, because this game was looking very promising if they fixed some big things. But, as for now, this game's fate is left in the air. And since from the look of things, it looks like this game won't be majorly updated anytime soon, I decided I'll just make the review now. Peroxide isn't exactly a new kind of game. It's a Bleach game about progressing through one of 4 races: Shinigami, Hollow, Quincy, and Fullbringer. All of them are more or less similar, but they do have some diverging paths. You do simple quests at the start to level up while collecting skills and figuring out your Shikai, and, for my sanity, I'm going to call every race's starter weapon transformation a Shikai, because they're all the same thing, just with different visual effects and with different elements depending on what you choose, or more like what you get. After that, you'll go to your respective faction's base and start taking bigger and bigger quests, as you fight your inner spirit to level up your Shikai, getting more of your Shikai's moves in the process. Eventually, you'll get so strong with your Shikai that you'll be able to get your weapon's final transformation state, Bankai. Same as before with the starter transformation, just gonna call it a Bankai for every race because they're all essentially the same thing throughout the races. And once you get that final weapon, you'll fight your weapon a lot more to get it mastered so you can stay in that form for longer. And after you do all that, you're either max level or damn near close to it. And that's the main game of Peroxide in a very, very, very simplified manner. You'll be seeing more glimpses of what this game has to offer as I show off the game. I will be using the same format as with my previous videos, doing a combat section, a community section, and content section. However, content will be more delved within since there's beginner content, middle game content, and end game content, something battlegrounds experiences could never have. Then, I'll wrap up my thoughts at the end and throw out any miscellaneous information at the end as well as being able to call it a game and give it an actual rating. Hopefully. So, let's get to it. It's time for combat, and the first time on this channel that we see a unique combat system. If I had to explain this combat system, I'd do it something like this. You can have 4 to 6 M1s depending on if the weapon is medium, heavy, or light. Heavy weapons are slow and have a 4 M1 string along with much larger range. Medium weapons have 5 M1s with medium speed and average hitboxes, and light weapons have 6 M1s and move fast, but have a short hitbox. Unless you have 2 weapons, which will give you 6 M1s, fast speed, and average sized hitboxes. I don't know why, but you do. Anyways though, the last M1 is a knockback always, and used to guard break, but doesn't anymore for some reason. Your dashes are flash steps, which you can use to chain all of them together for massive bursts of speed. However, they cost much more Reiatsu when in combat, so you're only able to do about 3 to 4 before you burn up all your Reiatsu. The Reiatsu bar is what all your moves cost, even just melee moves. So keep an eye on that, because you die if you're unable to flash step and get away. If you dash and right click, for PC users, you will do an uppercut, sending them and you up into the air, and after you do your M1 string in the air, it'll knock them back into the ground, making them splat against the ground and leaving them open for some moves you couldn't normally hit in a combo. If you double click right click, you have a heavy attack that has a massive wind up, but it does block break. It sucks, and you should never use it. You can block in this game by holding the F button. You have an invisible block bar that you can't see, and when it fills up, your block will break and you will be left wide open. You can perfect block in this game by timing your block correctly with a block breaking moves. You'll know you do it because your block will flash purple. You can block and double click right click while you're getting M1'd, or just by taking a bunch of hits from a beam, and do a spin slash, knocking anyone near you away from you and giving you iframes for a sec, meaning you can escape from those said beams. And finally, for basic stuff, if you flash step just as the move is about to hit you, you will do a perfect dodge, making you a blur for a second and giving you iframes for a second as well, leaving them stunned for a tiny bit as well. Now, for your moves, you'll have your normal punching, kicking, slashing moves. These are basic moves. Some of them combo extend, some of them knock down, and some of them knock back. These are all pretty simple, all things considered. What's more complex are Reiatsu moves, otherwise known as your magic moves for your race, if we're putting it in general terms. Take my Shinigami that I'm using right now. My magic moves are Kido, and if you know Bleach, you'll know that Kido wasn't used much in Bleach, which is sad because it's so cool. But that's besides the point. My Kido moves have two typings, Bakudo, which is for binding and or defense, and Hado, which is destruction and or offense. These Hado moves can vary from big beams to fireballs to wind blast to lightning bolts, honestly just some of the whole arsenal while you're at it. These moves are all built for damage dealing, combo extending, combo ending, or just doing raw damage if you just throw it out. Now, Bakudo moves are for the opposite. They can bind the opponent in place or even create a wall for blocking other magic type attacks. Now, let me make this clear, this is just Shinigami. Hollow, Quincy, and Fullbringer have different magic type moves. And along with all these magic moves, melee, and basic moves, every race has access to a healing move that is different depending on that race. For example, a Shinigami's heal is an area heal that is consistent, but doesn't heal that much. Now moving on to evasives, you have an evasive you can use while in combo. If your evasive is on cooldown, the cooldown will go by quicker when you're taking damage. Finally, for the big stuff, we have our Shikai moves. To use these moves, you need to enter into your Shikai by clicking G for PC. These moves are staples for your character, and you will probably have at least one or two of these moves in your hotbar at all times, because they're usually that good. Now, let me tell you something else. These moves can be anything. Combo extenders, and combo enders, raw damage, magic type moves. They can be anything when it comes to use. When it comes to what they are, they're usually based off the element you're using. I'm using ice right now, so all my moves are ice related. And finally, your Bankai, your big boy mode. You can go into this mode once you have 100% bar on the left side of your screen. Once you enter this mode, you get about half your health back, a change of clothes, and a new weapon, along with 40 different passives. Jeez! Yeah, a lot of reading. But, believe it or not, it's not as bad as it looks. Most of this can be figured out by hovering your mouse over the passive to read it. Or, if you're unlucky and you have ice that has these abysmally long and unreadable passives, but just do some experimenting and you will figure it out pretty quick. The main things to look out for that'll change are your heavy, your block, your counter, and you may gain a move on your E button, or R button, or G button. Or, if you're me, you'll get all of it. Love that. And no, that was not sarcasm. Just shut up me. Just shut up me. These moves also vary wildly depending on the Shikai element you have. And finally, you have your ultimate move. These moves are usually big damage dealing moves that are original to the element. Is that a planetary devastation? Okay, yeah, they took some inspiration from some stuff, obviously. In my opinion, though, I think it looks cool, so I can't really complain that much. And that's the main combat system. Now, would you believe me if I said I kinda sped through this because I wanted to get to my opinions on this, so I apologize if I missed some stuff, but I hit all the main stuff. Now, how I think about this. I will say this. This is certainly a creative combat system. I have not seen something exactly like this in my time on Roblox. Now, maybe that's just because of me never finding it, but I truly never have. So, point for creativity. How I think it works? Pretty good, honestly. Feels a little icy here and there, no pun intended. And what I mean by that is it kind of feels like I'm running on ice with how fast I move. Along with being able to catch people with M1s, it's a little difficult. And that is kind of a bad thing, but it is fixable by using your moves. Moves can be used to catch people, so it's not impossible. But you can't beat the feeling of moving around so fast and having high-paced battle, even if it is a little icy. I still very much enjoy it. Combos are very interesting to do, mostly because when you use a combo extender, if you have any other combo extenders in your hotbar, they will also go on cooldown. And even now, I still don't know how to think of that. Part of me wants to say it's a good thing that you can't get simple combos, but then the other part of me wants to say that since doing combos in this game is so unique, it might not be as much of a good thing, especially for new players. It doesn't feel like a 2D or 3D fire, where you ragdoll them, stun them with a move, and then do some more M1s. Rarely you can even do that, With my Aishikai, I usually knock them back through my tombstone, which brings them closer to me, freezes them, meaning I got a timer to do damage before they shatter and they get iframes for a few seconds. And you might think that's pretty simple, and it would be if that's all there was. But each time they take damage in the ice, they stay frozen for maybe a quarter of a second longer. But it doesn't stack. The timer still goes down while the time is added, meaning you have to really plan out how your moves go to get the maximum amount of damage. My best maximum damage output is 5 M1s into a knockback, and then use Hado number 88, which is my big beam. This is a lot of thinking for just a few buttons, and maybe it's just me, but I truly do love the amount of thinking I have to do. I'm not used to it at all. I'm the type of guy who loves doing combos, and long combos at that. So much effort for one tiny yet satisfying combo is interesting. Not good or bad, just interesting. And it's at least a breath of fresh air. And it's not just my Aishikai. A lot of other movesets do this too. How do I know? Well, because I have been hit by those very movesets. And they do some bizarre stuff for a simple 4 to 5 second combo. I guess what I'm trying to say is that this combat system is bizarre, but in a good way. I like how much thought I need to put into the simplest of things, and the neutral play is very fun as well. You'd think it'd be impossible to catch people with how fast you move, but most of the time that's not the case. Sure, it does happen, obviously, but not enough for it to be a death sentence. And trust me, you can catch people. The one good thing being in combat does in this game is limit flash steps, which is big, so you can actually fight and maybe win. This combat is so fascinating to me. Even though I just spent so long explaining how it works and my opinion on it, I don't think I love it or hate it. It's just solid. Solid, but unique. Something to definitely take notes from. But I'll be honest with you guys, the combat system was never the thing I had problems with when it came to this game. It's the upcoming sections. So, let's get to the community. Oh boy. Alright, time for the community. The community in this game is, toxic, to say the least. Now, as with most of these games, it's not because of the people. Well, mostly. It does vary a little bit. However, most of the blame is on the game. The community itself is toxic because of a few things. The first thing is how cannibalizing the gameplay of the main game is. It promotes killing other players a lot, along with it having a carrying and executing mechanic, which I think makes any game more toxic than it already has to be, since you could do things like carry people who are downed around, and usually they can't reset because of the combat tag. It's just really petty when some guys you're fighting carries you around the map and then starts to teabag you like you did something actually wrong. It's a pretty toxic environment, I won't lie. Not to mention that there are quests that literally involve killing other players. Especially if you're a Quincy. I'm no Quincy myself, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm quite sure you need to take a bounty on someone just to get your Shikai. Isn't that crazy? To progress the game, you have to kill someone who is one of two things. Way above your level or way below your level. Both suck. And don't even bother trying to find someone on your level, because that's a nigh 0% chance of happening. Now, whether it be extra endgame content when you have all the stuff and are strong enough to fight other people in the main game, or stuff to progress your character, both suck. However though, it's infinitely worse when you need to progress through the main game stuff with PvP. It locks people off from having fun, because they gotta fight people who can wildly vary in skill, level, equipment, and everything else that makes a person's skill and level in a game. Meaning it's an almost completely random experience on getting these kill missions done depending on the server you're in, which makes for, frankly, terrible experience, and also a terrible first impression if you're forced with that mission to do. This will also cause a chain reaction, meaning that if people start trying to hunt down new or experienced players for seemingly no reason, because most of the time, from the pop of the player getting hunted, it feels like they're just getting hunted for no reason, will put those people in a bad mood, and spread the toxicity because they're negative. Now, you might say, well, that's just one thing. There's no way it can cause that much toxicity and negativity. And you would be right. That on its own is not enough to spread negativity. But with this small spark, it spreads the seeds of hating across the servers, meaning people will be much more likely to kill people for no reason since they see other people seemingly do it for no reason. And for most of the time, the people who need to do missions won't say anything about the killing mission they have to do, or will be the type of person to insult after they kill, making that person more angry and more likely to just kill people for the hell of it. Also, big thing, people will drop their cash when they die, and people can steal it, which just adds more fuel to the fire and give people an excuse to kill for the hell of it. A very cannibalistic cycle that just doesn't end. And now, for the big cherry on top. Even if you squad up and go into a party, you are still able to do damage to your teammates. Like, what? I don't care if it's half damage, it still puts them in combat. And sure, you could say, my bad, to take them all out of it. but for some reason, the command just doesn't work sometimes. So you might be in a situation where you want to leave the toxic server you're in before you die, so it doesn't absolutely ruin your mood. But guess what? You can't because you might have nicked your friend on accident. Have fun! And the extra cherry on top of this punishment you get for leaving while in combat, the most insulting and, in my opinion, worst part that spreads negativity is when you leave in combat. Oh my god, is it a mood killer. When you leave in combat, no matter what the reason, you will get a message basically reprimanding you about leaving during combat. And on top of that, take away some of your cash. A genuinely horrible thing to say after fighting toxic people, and all you want to do is leave that server. Hey, I know you could have left for a good reason, but hey, I'm gonna punish you anyways. And that money that probably has nothing to do with it, that's going to me too. Tax dollars. Have fun, you stupid, dumb, stupid baby. And this, for most people, me included, is an absolute mood killer, and does not make me want to play the game any further. I think I have a friend that can put it best, actually. Hold that thought. Hello, I brought on a little friend here to tell me some experiences they've...
A little friend, I'm your little friend.
You're not helping. Here is my friend Cheese here. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Of course. Hello there, beloved viewers of Bush Wiggle Wiggle's channel. Nice to meet you all. I'm Cheese. Yes, just like the block of cheese.
Specifically like the block of cheese, actually. Okay, so with all the funnies out of the way, what is your experience with the game known as Peroxide?
Let me think. What is my experience with this game called Peroxide? I've been playing it for like, at bare minimum, like 2 years, on and off. So like I was saying, I've been playing the game a lot. I've never been particularly very good at the combat, I'll be honest with you. I'm one of those people who just likes spamming M1s, and that's about it. The moves, cool, I guess. I've always had relatively good luck, so on my main account, I have Chaos, and then my other account, I've swapped it back and forth between Stark, Vessel, had Manifest for a little bit. Didn't really like Manifest that much, so I went back to Vessel. I believe Vessel is the best resurrection to have. Next to Chaos, of course.
Well, of course you think that. That's all you've really used.
I mean, what else am I gonna use? Beast? Astra?
No, okay. No, I mean, I guess you're right when you put it like that.
Exactly, like, Vessel's the only good one that's not a legendary or whatever Stark is. Yeah, I mean, it's fun to play with friends. It's just, playing on your own is, like, pretty boring, I'll be honest with you. Like, you're more likely to get jumped by people than anything else. And since, you know, there are different races in the game, expect there to be racists, of course.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of racism. Yeah, no.
Yes, there's a lot of racism within the community itself, and just in the game. It's just in the game. It's just beautiful, honestly. Additionally, the hollow progression is horrible to do on your own. I was lucky enough to have Bush to help me along with both of my progressions, so that was nice. It's just trying to do it on your own is actually a hellscape. It's your own syphilis ball, pretty much. Especially when you're a Menos, because you're really tall. You're as tall as like one of the tall as the buildings in Peroxide, and it's of course extremely hard to hide. And people are like, "Oh, a Menos, perfect! Gotta kill this Menos to get some XP." And then when you die, you know, you get set back to normal as hollow, and then you have to do the whole entire progression again and again and again and again and again.
Okay, well that's your experiences, and yeah, they sound just as bad as mine. But what do you think about the community of the game?
Are there going to be people who are extremely toxic? Yes. Every Roblox game has that. There's going to be lots of bad apples everywhere. But at the same time, are there going to be people who are relatively nice or more passive? Yeah. Yeah, there are. But at the same time, the percentage of people who are abhorrently toxic on Peroxide is a higher concentration than other games I've observed. Peroxide is a game that unfortunately has a habit of cannibalizing its player base, in the sense that it gives you incentives to go after other players, to kill other players. For example, I believe in the Quincy progression, you have to kill other people to progress. Well, I have been the target of numerous Quincy attacks, and the thing is, if they just tell me, "Hey, can I kill your player?" I usually just let them do it, because I'm like, sure, why not? You know, you were nice enough to ask, so I'll do it. But unfortunately, a lot of those Quincy players do not ask. So it's like, yo, why are you attacking me? Like, you got a reason? Tell me. You know, if you tell me your reason, then I'll, let you. Like, if you need some money, okay, how much money you need? I'll give it to you, just tell me, like, there's a lot of lack of communication in the community. And also, the community is very disjointed. Like the chances of you coming across a toxic Quincy player is like every 2 out of 5 people you'll meet who's a Quincy is gonna be toxic to you in some way. They're either gonna try to kill your player, try to rob you, or something along the lines of that. Yeah, well, the percentage of Soul Reapers who are toxic, I would say it's about like, maybe 1 in 5 people. It happens, yes, but it's not as often. And then the percentage of people who are toxic, and if you're a hollow, usually it's more like 1 in every 8 people are toxic. And I feel like that's because, when you're a hollow, you get killed a lot by people. So it's like, maybe, you experience toxicity. So maybe you decide to be a better person, not spread toxicity. But of course, there are going to be outliers.
Or it can make people spread toxicity because they were dealt in the first place for an unfair reason.
Yes, that's another thing. Also, new protection in the game does not last long enough because of how cannibalistic the community is. New protection really should last a lot longer, regardless of what race you are. And keep in mind that hollow, when you're a normal hollow, until you are an agicast, like the bigger agicastes, you're not able to move very fast. You don't have any dashes, and your moves also are pretty weak comparison to the average starting out Quincy or Shinigami. I have seen it a couple of times here and there, but for the most part, players are unlikely to give out money, unlikely to help you out if you're hollow progression. Even if you ask, like, hey, can somebody help me out? They're unlikely to help you out. You're more likely to ask a friend, and if you don't have friends, then oh wow, better get some friends to help you out. Yeah, and then on top of that, there are gangs in the game, and just like how gangs are in the real world, they can be sometimes quite violent.
Most of the time, actually, they're quite violent. I can't think of a single time where they're in there just to be nice. Because I remember when you and me, we used to play, I remember seeing even 2 people from the same game, or even 1 person from a gang. It was always just bad news coming. It was always a bad omen for things to come. And sure enough, later, it would be warring.
I do remember a couple of times where multiple gang members would spawn camp people and just start killing people like crazy in spawns. That would occasionally happen, most commonly in Quake Mondo, right where the mission guy is. That would happen.
Alright, well, I have one more question before I bug you anymore for your time on this game. Barely a game, but it is still a game. What would you do to change the community and maybe make it better?
1, I would make it so that new protection lasts a lot longer. Lasts until, for example, if you're a hollow, it lasts until you pull off your mask and you're either an Aducar or Menocar or Vasocar. Any of those things. As soon as you pull off your mask, that's when new protection ends. And if you are a Shinigami or a Quincy, it should end when you get your resurrection, because that's when you can properly protect yourself. Another thing that I would do to change the community is enforce guidelines. Whether it be Roblox, TOS, it kind of sucks, but still, it's better than nothing. Or just implement a system where you can report people for being toxic. Like, for example, you can report gangs for being specifically more toxic than other ones, and you can have those those gangs disbanded and those players either suspended or banned from the game. All you're doing is spreading more negativity into this world that's already filled with so much negativity. What's the point of doing that,
Yeah, I agree. With how the game is already built around it, it's already built into the core principles of the game. So it's already going to be spread, but adding all of these little sprinkles of things not having loot protection last for long, having having being in combat be such just a punishing thing, when you leave, it's such a demoralizing thing to hear when it's oh, don't be in combat. Even if you left for a good reason, don't be in combat, or we'll take your money and we'll give you a slap on the wrist.
Another thing is, I just don't agree how cannibalizing Peroxide can be, and I know, because it's a relatively common trend in Bleach-based anime games on Roblox, or experiences as I should call them, that they cannibalize their player base in some type of way, whether it be incentivized PvP or just make it so that players can kill each other more regularly. Like, for example, if you look at a game like Jujutsu Infinite, there are safe zones, and yet my whole entire time of playing Jujutsu Infinite, I have never gotten killed.
In fact, I'd like to interject about little Jujutsu Infinite. I think Jujutsu Infinite, I actually don't think you can fight PvP or PvP in the main game. I think you would have to go to like 2 little circles and you can duel each other on the map. So in other words, PvP is disabled throughout the entire main game until you go to that dueling circle, which I think is a much nicer way to do it.
Yes, I would support if Peroxide were to do something similar like that, because honestly, the NPCs already give you enough of a challenge. Like the fact that a base level Hollow can perfect block you, and spam their moves on you like 50 billion times, and get you really close to dying just as soon as you start out. I feel like, you know, the NPCs are more than strong enough to give the average player a challenge. Therefore, it is simply to me redundant that Peroxide incentivizes their community to cannibalize itself.
Right, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yes.
Well, thank you for your opinions, Cheese. Your time is very well appreciated, especially spent on, well, on a game such as this. Thank you.
You're welcome, Bush. I'm happy that I can help you. And perhaps, dear viewers, you may see me again in another video, coming soon, perhaps.
You will definitely see him. This is definitely not the last time you'll see him. He's a very funny guy. Overall, a very toxic and self-cannibalizing environment that does not invoke being kind or friendly. Very terrible for new players and even experienced players. Creates an abysmal environment that me personally cannot spend too long in, or else I will actually cry. Even if there are some very janky ways of escape like meditating or going to your spirit place, it's not enough to mend the violent environment. This is not the right way to go about making a good community. Oh, God. Well, that was infuriating. We had 1 net positive and 1 net negative. And from my experience in this game, I think the content will be a net neutral. So, let's go check it out. Here we go with content. And thankfully, there's a lot of content to go over. That doesn't mean all of it's good, but it's better than nothing. So let's get right to it. For beginner content, you're essentially going to be doing storyboard quests, which can vary from killing things, to delivering things, to cleaning up trash. These quests will be your main source of leveling up as a beginner. You'll also be talking to the trainer of your choice. In other words, Kisuke, Shinigami trainer, Hollow trainer, Kisuke, it's mostly Kisuke, yeah, fair enough. He is the one everyone can do, and by far the easiest to win against. He is just a glass cannon. After you fight Kisuke a bunch and get your stats up, along with doing quests from the quest board, you will reach your max potential for the ring, and be able to upgrade the ring. Do this until you're level 30, and you can get your Shikai. Once you get your Shikai, you continue to level up and increase the timer, until you're able to stay in it forever. You will also start getting accessories and such like that, which you can use to make your character better, and also look better. This is also where clans in your element come into play. And, since this is a content thing technically, I'm gonna need to mention this. Now, I want to say something that will be a standard for all games that do this. Making your main way of combat based on gambling is the worst idea ever, and I hate it. Absolutely awful idea. But we'll get into my opinions on that later. You'll start getting product essence from codes or from other means. Listen, if it's not codes, the only other real way you're going to get product essence is through doing your factions missions. And they're not that common either, so good luck with that, I guess. Now, onto middle game. Middle game is more or less the same thing, except you're doing actual missions. These missions can be one of 4 things. First up, for any ranked mission, you can do the steal an object quest, which is just infiltrating the opposing faction base and stealing an important item while not dying. You can get a disguise by killing one of the guards in the place and going to the NPC that usually is just chilling outside of the hostile enemy zone. What a chat, am I right? And then you can just walk past them for free. Pretty easy quest, but not very good rewards. The next mission is for rank Ds and above, which is going into the opposing faction's base and killing 6 guards. Simple enough. However though, take note, if you go in without a disguise, you will get ganged by every single guard, because the NPCs in this game are unfair as hell. Oh, just another thing I gotta address later. Anyways though, now on to the B rank mission, which is defeat a captain. Similar before to killing 5 guards, but after you kill 5 guards, a captain of the opposing faction will pop up on the map. This captain has access to a Shikai and a Bankai. Kill him and you're done with the mission. Now for the final mission, which is storming a base that is for S-. This mission has loads to do and is by far the hardest, along with the most annoying. First, you have to defeat all the guards needed. Notably, you can leave some, but you also have to complete all the objectives, which can be smashing pipes, smashing more pipes, going into a control room and smashing the stuff in there. It's just a lot of breaking stuff mostly. The final objective is what matters though, which could be one of two things: a captive that you have to rescue from 2 to 3 guards, or defeat a captain. Once you do this, you have about 60 seconds to get out while you still can, because if you don't, you will be swarmed by the entire opposing faction's militia. And Kenpachi might even spawn. You can stay and clean up house and get slightly better rewards. They're not really that worth it. However, killing Kenpachi is worth it because he can drop some pretty nice stuff. And that's all the faction missions, and after all that, you should be the right level to get your Bankai. Now, getting your Bankai is different depending on your race, so I'll be speaking from my 3 experiences, which is almost all the races anyways, except Quincy. So, generally, you need to fight your Bankai boss, which can be in your inner realm, in Hueco Mundo if you're a type of Arankar, or in your Fullbringer world if you're a Fullbringer. You defeat this boss and get your Bankai for a limited amount of time. You fight this boss a bunch more times to get your Bankai to max level and get it to last for a long time, along with getting your Bankai's ultimate move maxed out. At this point, you probably have a bunch of time relics. You can use these relics and bring them into the Shady Shinigami in Karakura and exchange them in to get a gemstone. These gemstones give small procs for whatever move you want to put it on, ranging from fire to striking lightning or leeching Reiatsu. And that's about it for middle game. On to endgame. So, endgame is basically where you get all your extra stuff you don't need. And again, I'll be speaking for Shinigami experience. You can get Hakuda, which is a martial arts fighting style you get from Yoruichi. You can also get this as an Arankar, but you need to go see Orochi in Huecomundo to do this. Along with this, you can become a Vassal Rage through an absolutely disgusting quest line. Seriously, let me give you a breakdown as to just how bad this is. You need to get 3 impure Hogyokus in total for this quest. Just getting one of these is extremely hard since you need to get lucky from a quest to get a time remnant, which is the thing you need to redeem an impure Hogyoku. So even if you're somehow able to get all 3 of those, get ready for this. You need to max out your Wizard, which doesn't take too long, but it's very annoying if you're trying to get Vassal Rage. Then you need to kill 30 to 50 Vassal Lords with your mask on, so it's not even guaranteed which one it is. You could be lucky and get 30, or really unlucky and get 50. Just another RNG reliant thing. Ew. I need to go back to Karakura, talk to the cuckoo insane guy, and he'll give you a Vastal Lord you need to kill with the exact name too. And you have to wait for him to spawn and kill him. All of that while being in a server with toxic people roaming around or people trying to do quests who might fight you for these Vastal Lords. It is an absolutely terrible experience, and I speak from personal experience. I wanted to gouge my eyes out while doing this. I genuinely felt nothing doing this quest. Not an ounce of pleasure or fun or excitement. Absolutely terrible. But besides that, you can get some other endgame transformations, like Horn of Salvation, which is somehow worse to get than Vasto Rage. So much worse, in fact, that I refuse to explain it. It'll make you cry and it'll make me cry. But for less race-specific stuff, there are boss raids that spawn in the world every hour or so. You can also buy these from a shop that I neglected to mention because it constantly moves around and is almost impossible to find. Like, why? I don't get it. Anyways though, these bosses can change depending on what realm you're in. For example, the bosses can be Aizen or Ukiura in Karakura, Byakuya or Captain Yamamoto in the Soul Society. And I think only Stark can spawn in Hueco Mundo. At least that's all I got after that update. Who have their own movesets and such, and they are actually pretty fun to fight in my opinion, and scale on the amount of players that join the raid, meaning it's actually possible to solo if you're the only one in there. They can also drop some cool stuff as well as some time relics. There are also time rifts that spawn every hour and close after every 30 minutes, meaning it's a 30-minute cycle. In these time rifts, it's strictly PvP game modes. These game modes can range from Juggernaut to team matches to stock matches, nothing really creative. But you can get some pretty good loot for it, so it's got 2 things to look forward to at the bare minimum. And they're alright, all things considered. There's also your ranked matches, PvP game modes. Oh, and there's these things called Storm Invasions, which are very competitive and toxic in my opinion. The nutshell version is, you go in there, collect items of your choosing, try to survive before you get a way out, and try to leave without dying. Honestly, it's like hell. I've only ever done it like maybe 3 or 4 times, since everyone will try to kill you if you have an item that they want. There are also incursions into Karakura, Hueco Mundo, Soul Society, and Wandenreich that can summon Arankars, Shinigami, or Quincy's. They're not hard, but they add more stuff to do, as well as drop items and make a portal to the world they came from. Meaning, if they're a Rankar, they'll make an automatic portal to Hueco Mundo, which is nice, so I don't have to pay for it, especially if I'm a Shinigami. And that's all the big stuff for content. If I missed anything, I am very sorry. There's quite a bit to this game, and I want to mention all the big stuff first and foremost. Now, I want to say something. The amount of content in this game was never my problem, it's the quality of it. And it varies, I think, depending on what you're doing. Beginner and middle game content is all in all pretty bleh. It's nothing that creative, maybe a little fun, but it doesn't have any kick to it, you know? It's just doing the same thing over and over again until you get your Bankai, honestly. And then you gotta kill your Bankai boss 20 times to get your maxed out mode. And that's if you don't die a single time fighting your Bankai boss. Because your Bankai boss does a lot of damage. It gets repetitive and a bit boring. Now, the gameplay itself is not boring, at least in my opinion. It's just when you gotta do it over and over so many times, it just gets grating and does not make me want to play the game. Now, raid bosses that spawn in the world, and the incursions add a lot of fun and ways to spice up the game for middle game. But you almost never want to do these when you're in the middle of the game, because you're not going to be max level yet. And guess what? Even if you struggle your ass off to kill a boss, it gives no EXP or stats. Only rewards, meaning it's pointless to fight them if you're not max level. Incursions at least give stat points, but the NPCs that spawn from it die very easily and they're not a challenge. And one big thing that I want to mention real quick, the NPCs are so overpowered. They know everything you're going to do and will blitz around you like Naoya Zenin. It's almost impossible to land a hit if you're not just slashing around randomly or just throwing out a move. If you're fighting NPCs and not in the middle of doing a combo, there is almost no skill involved. So take that as you will. And the other big thing I want to mention is the RNG for the main combat system. Absolutely disgusting and terrible. Having to rely on RNG to get something you want was a terrible idea. And it's not just this game that does it. More games do this, and it deserves more than just criticism. It deserves to be banished into hell, because it just sucks. You want to get something you want? Well, hit the lever! Ding, 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 ding! Let's see if you get lucky! No matter if the currency to gamble with is easy to get or not, it's still a terrible thing. And for the unlucky souls who have the thing they like to be a rare thing to land on, don't worry, I really like Ice and Lightning, and I got terrible chances for them. Have fun gambling and hope you don't get lucky to get the thing you want so you can enjoy the game. So terrible and sad. Now with the endgame stuff. Sure, the PvP stuff, it's alright, it's nothing crazy, but the combat system doesn't complement PvP pretty nice. So I think the time rifts and ranked matches are definitely above average, but the lack of creativity in this game will get to people. I would know because it got to me. If I wasn't in my Bleach phase while playing this game, I would have given up a lot sooner. But still, the content is there, and there is a lot of it, and it is fun in short bursts, don't get me wrong. Sometimes I have an itch to play this game, and then scratch the itch in a short burst of gameplay. It is fun, but not for more than maybe an hour, meaning it kills long-term gameplay and any fun with it. I really wish the content was more fun and engaging. It would make for a much better game. And not to mention the abysmal endgame missions to get the cool stuff, because oh my god, what were they thinking? I have a life. I want to live. Well, I guess I don't, considering I did it, so what does that say about me? Ah, this is terrible. I want to have fun doing quests, not grind my head against a cheese grater for 5 damn hours. They seriously need to change these quests because they are just flat out bad game design. Oh, but that's about all for content. Time to wrap this up with a conclusion. By the way, how long has this been going on for? Oh my god! Hit the confetti, sound the alarms, because we have finally found a game, my friends. It's not a good game. I wouldn't even call it an average game. It's definitely a below average game. But we found a game on Roblox. God, the bar is set so low. So it is with my pleasure to say this is a game out of 10. Okay, I have some choice words for this game, because I cannot say this is a good game. I can't even say this is an average game. This is a below average game. However, though, it has the potential to become something beautiful if they just change some things. Okay, maybe I'm exaggerating a little, but I was not exaggerating about the potential, man. If they added some more creative things, fixed the community mechanics, like getting rid of executing and grabbing, because there is really no use for that in a game like this, and tweak up being in combat as well. But I think my biggest problems lie with the NPCs being absurdly overpowered, the lack of creative content, the toxic community that could be fixed pretty easily, all things considered, the insane endgame questlines, and the absolutely disgusting luck-based gambling you need to get the Shikai you want. Fix even just a few of those things, and this goes from a below average game to an actual average game. But from what they said in the Discord server, they won't be majorly updating this game for a while, which is a bit sad. But I can say this with my chest. Even with its many flaws and positives, I can confidently say this is a game. Maybe not a good game or even an average game, but it is a game, and I will stand by that unless they somehow make it worse. This is the first game on my list of games I wanted to do a video on, and hey, At least we found a game, and this is a good start for me. I'll be showing off more games and we'll be going through all of them. I also apologize for the lack of funny bits I added in. This was a challenge for me editing-wise. With all the content and PvP footage I had to get right, it was difficult. But hey, I pulled it off even though it was hard. I'm not one to give up very easily. I will continue bashing my head against something until it works. But anyways though, I'm thinking I circle back to a more simple game. But not Battleground. Oh, no, 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 no. Something that is simple yet rich. How about we unleash our shonen? Yeah, that was cringy. I apologize. But, come on. I think we'll have fun with this one.